Happy today. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com. This is Disconnect to Connect One Word Conversations. One Word Conversations is a self-discovery, relationship building conversation designed to invite us to look at our language and how we're communicating with each other. Many times words don't just come with definitions, they come with stories, expectations, and sometimes emotions that will cause us to be in a state of disconnection instead of connection. One Word Conversations is brought to you by I am William Brown. .com, a place to help you be yourself and live your life. One way that I spotlight what's available at IamWilliamBrown.com is our U cards. Our U cards are intention setting cards. They're a game and they are a journal prompt, and they are a part of my Beyond the Shell series. That includes a couple of books and a journal along with the cards. The books are The Journey to Stay You and Finding You Beyond What Protects You. You can get that at I Am William Brown, the store. So the cards that I picked to set the intentions for this conversation is I am purpose, you are full of joy, and before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Jeremiah 1:5. So this is the moment where I invite you to share, comment, ask questions. Let me know that you are also a part of this conversation. And then, I'm just excited about that. So this is history today because this is the first time I have a wonderful woman as a guest that has decided to have the word presented to them live on the air. And so I wasn't making it mean anything, but I was surprised that majority of my guests that are women didn't want to be surprised on the air. So this is our first. So with that in mind, I am going to bring up my guests so we can have a conversation. Good morning.
Good morning.
This is the moment where I invite my guests to introduce themselves however it feels comfortable to them.
So, I'm Tasha Hunter, a licensed clinical social worker. I am what I believe to be my ancestors' greatest dreams. I'm sent here to do the work that they just didn't get a chance to do, and that is to heal my clients, liberate them from trauma, and to help them to love themselves, and hopefully somewhere along the way kind of live a more purposeful life that is not controlled by whatever trauma that they experienced in their childhood. So I'm an author of the book What Children Remember, and soon to be podcast host of my own podcast, When We Speak. So thank you for having me.
Wow, that's great. I felt that, right?
Yeah.
It's like when you have I know now I know who I'm talking to. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So here is that moment where I ask you, how does the word abundance land for you?
Oh, I love that word abundance. It lands very well. I love it.
Anything else that you want to add to that?
I kind of I really had to take a moment because
Right.
seeing that on screen, that's a word that resonated in my spirit probably 30 days ago. And just the thought of abundance, years past, I'm a little bit wiser now, but in years past, I was always fearful of even asking my higher power to ask God, for abundance, to help me to live a more prosperous life, because I felt like I didn't deserve it.
Right. Wow.
that it
No.
wasn't something that belonged to me. It was for other people. I wasn't good enough. I was unworthy.
Hmm.
And so I love that abundance, just that word just entered my spirit literally about 30 days ago. And I thought, no, 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 that's for me too.
Hmm.
And so now I move with that energy and just yielding to God and saying, wherever abundance is, guide me.
Right.
What
Wow.
in my health, in my purpose, and the work that I do, and the people that I speak to, the people that I meet, the opportunities that you have for me financially in terms of wealth. Um, I want to live an abundant life, a meaningful life.
Right. No, I totally get that. I put words on the list, my list of words that have hooked me or something that I just want to unpack and just kind of learn more about. And, I would say things like, I want an abundant life. And that's a part of my prayer and everything. And then when I really started looking at it, I saw that there were so many areas where I was blocking abundance from my life. I mean, I couldn't even take a compliment because, because I felt that, oh no, somebody else is more worthy, someone else is more needed.
Mhm.
And I really started to get that if I really wanted to embrace abundance truly and have that a part of my life and not just about my financial abundance, but I have abundance in love, appreciation, generosity, all the things that to really embrace abundance wherever and however it's going to show up. I just need to have a posture of receiving.
Yeah,
And
that resonates with me so deeply. I had to interrupt you right there because I'm
okay,
like, I
okay,
don't want to lose that
okay.
point.
So
And thinking about, because you said relationships, and we don't often think about how we absolutely need abundance in our relationships, the relationships with ourselves, the relationships with other people, platonic relationships, romantic relationships, and how I believed since childhood that having a core group of people, trustworthy people, dependable people, just
mm,
good, wholesome friendships,
mm,
um, or even lovers that were honest and true, that I didn't deserve it, that it wasn't
mm,
for me. And so
right,
I entered all of my relationships feeling less than. Like, why would
yeah,
you want to be with me?
right,
Not being able to accept a compliment. People would say, "Oh, you're so smart. You're so strong. Oh, you're a beautiful person." Whatever. I couldn't
right,
receive any of that.
right,
And so and that surfaced and how I showed up at work and in my relationships.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's this sense, that I said that, I'm being humble, right?
Mhm.
I'm being, just kind of, oh, okay, it's okay.
Mhm.
I kind of receive it and I don't, but
Mhm.
I really didn't, and I really didn't realize how much, as you brought up before, worthiness was a part of that. Really feeling that who am I to ask? Who am I to get? Who am I to be able to really, um, I guess, have more than enough? That's what abundance means for me.
Mhm.
I grew up in the inner city projects in Pittsburgh, and I was concerned with enough.
Mhm.
Getting enough.
Mhm.
Do I have enough? Will there
Mhm.
be enough? And that was my mentality and survival.
Mhm.
And so really kind of even to embrace this abundance thing, right? It's just like,
Mhm.
hey, let's just deal with enough first, right? Let's just kind of get that together.
Mhm.
And because I was so focused on me being enough, me having enough, um, I was missing the abundance, everything else that was like right in front of me. And it wasn't just for my taking, that's the word that was coming up, but it was just for my having, right? For my sharing. And it's all about, like you were saying, the relationships and what they really mean. I'm a self-awareness coach, and I've been, the last couple months, I have been reimagining the Maslow hierarchy of needs. And so, we start with the basic needs: security, belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. Well, I flipped that on its head. And so I want people to start with an actionable awareness of yourself. And that can be just by asking, who am I? And that conversation is not just what yourself, it's what you're divine, right? Most people say they're talking to themselves. No, you're not talking to yourself. We are a unique expression of God. So we're never alone, right? And so really, with that actionable awareness, now my basic needs of food and housing is in support of who I am. My relationships or my belongings are in support of who I am. My esteem is in support of who I am. So now I'm protecting everything that's important to me. And so that's the only way, really, that we can have abundance, is that we know who we are, whose we are. When I'm really excited that Jeremiah 1:5 came up for this conversation, because that you, before the foundations of the world, that we were here before all of this mess, right? And the vastness of all of that, we were not only here but known. And so we miss that the stuff that we're trying to get, the stuff that we're trying to accept, it's already a part, of everything that we are. We are abundance.
Everything you said, and if you see me writing, I'm taking notes because you're prompting. It's like
Okay.
it's like you're bringing to mind so many things for me in this conversation. And I thought about, you talked about being humble. And I grew up in church, and they talk a lot about being meek and being humble. And now, as a therapist and a trauma survivor, I wonder, was that humbleness, or was that insecurity?
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, because if we're humble, that's sometimes that's just a really safe place to be for those of us who feel very unworthy of anything at all.
Right.
And so, yeah, and if you've lived a life in which you grew up in poverty, or just certain really, hard circumstances, then you understand that need for survival. And, well, if I can just get this job, if I can just get through this class, if I can just meet with this person, or do this thing, then I'll be okay. I'll be stable.
Right.
But what if, just as you were speaking, I was just thinking, but what if there's more?
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't think about the more. And so when I think about abundance now, it's like, I am thinking about, I am the right person for the group of people that I need in my life and want in my life.
Right.
That I'm kind of calling into my life.
Right.
I'm right for them. They're right for me.
Right.
And my life has changed as a result of that thinking. Whatever goals I have for myself, I can do it.
Right.
I'm just as capable as anybody else.
Right.
And it impacts how you show up in the room.
Right.
It impacts how you wake up in the morning and what you believe about yourself, and you're able to work in confidence and be in relationships and in conversations in confidence, knowing that I have what I need, that everything that whoever I'm supposed to be, God has already instilled that in me.
Right.
I don't have to do more or be better. God has already put those qualities and those giftings inside of me. I was born with it.
Right.
It's
Mm,
already there, all the ingredients.
right.
So yeah.
Yeah. I say a lot of things, right? And there's some things I understand and some things that I don't yet understand. And I've been saying for a number of weeks now, and I'm really starting to get within my spirit, within my being, my essence, that I am whole and complete.
Hmm.
And at the same time, I am not currently aware of my completeness. It doesn't mean that I'm missing anything.
Mhm.
It's just that I'm not aware of it yet.
Mhm.
And I think the more that I live my life, the more that I show up, the more that every all the desires that I have, every you know leading, calling, you know, it's not something. It's not such a crazy idea. It's just within me showing up, right, right,
Mhm.
and wanting to be out in the world. Now is the time, for that. And the more that we are ourselves, the more that abundance can show up.
Yeah.
And that's the invitation.
That's it. And I believe that is all that God wants for any of us, is to be able to show up, to know that when God formed us, and in my, just for anybody listening, when I envision God, I envision her as a Black woman.
Hmm,
And
got it.
so when God formed us, we were already whole and complete. And can we rest in that contentment?
Hmm,
So
wow.
many times life, and kind of interjects the struggles, the pain,
Mhm,
the trauma, circumstances, letdowns, heartbreaks, all the disappointments, and then we don't feel good enough. Societal standards, we don't feel good enough.
right.
Comparison to
Mhm,
others makes us not feel good enough. And so I think that at our highest being, it's resting, just literally resting in the peace that I am good enough.
hmm.
That's it.
Yeah. Here's a question that's coming
Mhm.
up because
Mhm.
it was in the language of your introduction to us,
Mhm.
is that um, the ancestors and where our ancestors play in how we show up. Um, what do you believe that I guess so? Here's a question around trauma and ancestors, right? Because I
Mhm.
want to this is what's coming up for me. What's happening right now for me is
Mhm.
what I call a download. So it's something that's coming to me that I haven't figured out, but it's coming out of my mouth. So good luck with understanding it, right? Right? So,
Mhm.
but I'm feeling that our traumas in our lives are distracting us from the messages of our ancestors to live our lives.
Mhm.
And so I guess the question within that, how can we stay connected to ourselves and to our ancestors and not allow our traumas, our difficulties, our suffering to kind of um, I guess shape us into something that we're not.
I think that first, it's beautiful and it's good, and I think it's holy to honor your ancestors, even if you don't know them. I don't know mine. I come from a
Mm,
very disconnected,
mm,
toxic, dysfunctional family. I don't know my ancestors, but I believe
mm, got it.
that I am here today to end the generational trauma that was in my family line.
Well,
that was
good.
in my DNA. Just having that awareness of what's happened within your family, and to be able to say it stops with me, whether
Hmm.
that is child abuse, parental abandonment, addiction, poverty, whatever, mental illness, whatever it is,
Right.
it stops here. And it's perfectly okay to acknowledge what has been in our family line.
Right.
For me as a Black woman, I can't help but think of my own biological, my family of origin,
Hmm.
but also my history as a Black woman and what we as Black people have been through.
Right.
And if, is it okay to acknowledge the trauma, but also to acknowledge that God is a healer,
Right. Hmm.
and and that I don't have to be defined by my trauma. I can also start the process, or maybe be a part of the process of generational healing.
Right.
Does that,
Hmm.
if that makes any sense? I don't know if that
Oh,
answers it,
oh
but
yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
I get that. There is there I love your, it's like this definitive statement that it stops here.
Stops
You know
here.
what? I don't know. I guess it was like we're part of the same family. I don't know mine.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that I hear about, people talk
Mhm,
about and not talk about and shush you up about, but it's like I
mhm,
don't know. But at the same
mhm,
time, I feel that I know. I know that there is
mhm,
a sense of pain and
mhm,
disappointment.
mhm.
Um, and so even with my knowing and not knowing,
Mhm,
to have a statement that lack in my family ends,
mhm.
you know, that
Yeah.
we are going to, our family line will now be a place of abundance, and just
Mhm,
taking that on. And it's not, and I believe that it's not something that it's like, well, what shows up for me, it's like, well, who are you? There's a lot of great people in your family, why does it have to stop with you?
yeah.
It's like, I don't know, but it
Mhm,
just stopped. Maybe when I was designed by that Black woman. No, I'm just kidding. But I would I don't know why I said that. um, she said, "You stop it," right? And it's like
mhm,
that's a part of my design. I don't know if you've ever heard of a modality of human design, um, and there is something within that it said that I'm a responder. I respond to things, and so I become aware of things. I was designed to become aware of things and then respond. And most of my trauma, let's just say, and I would say self-imposed, because I have been fighting against that, because I want to respond. It's in me to respond, but it's like, because of my age, because I'm Black, because of whatever of society conditioning that I have, it keeps me from responding. And I think that's why abundance has a hard time showing up in my life, because I'm there are those moments where I'm not in my life, right? And so really being able
mhm,
to like you said, acknowledge the trauma,
mhm,
but I don't think get stuck in it. Why do you think it's so, it feels like, I'll just say this for myself. It feels like it is easy to get stuck in my trauma and suffering and see that as my life, as opposed not to just an experience that has happened.
Well, because typically in our families, you're not just taking in what the things that you remember, you're taking in the things that happened in utero when you were in your mommy's belly.
Hmm,
You're taking in her experiences, whatever they may be.
hmm,
Then you come into the world, and and if you've had this life of being ignored,
Right.
being verbally abused, being made fun of, being sexually abused, whatever your circumstances were,
Mm.
that's what you know. And so from that forms parts of you that say, you're not good enough. Don't
Mm.
even try to do that. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not strong enough. You would
Mm.
never, you didn't have a father. You wouldn't be a good father because what do you know
Mm.
about fatherhood? What do you know about motherhood?
Right.
Your mother was mean, your grandmother was mean, and all of these just throwing out stuff.
Right.
So there's
Absolutely. I got it.
so all of these messages come, and I am training in and I practice what I call, it's not what I call, but it's called internal family systems. So we learn about parts and how those parts are actually protectors.
Mm.
And although they hurt us, that thinking, that believing, they're protecting us from pain.
Mm.
And so then you go through life, as you talked about earlier, showing up small,
Mm.
kind of believing certain things, and it's keeping you from the relationships you want. It's keeping you from a life of abundance.
Right.
That's protection, because it's the other side of that is, well, what if I fail?
Right.
What if I get
Mm.
it wrong? What if I ruin things? What if I embarrass myself?
Right.
So if you don't even try,
Right.
then it's like, well, I'm protecting myself from any pain. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Absolutely. I mean, there has
Yeah.
been, I have a conversation around words, right?
Hmm.
And I understand the power of
Yeah.
words,
Hmm.
and my declaration and what I'm saying, how I'm speaking.
Yeah.
And the little hack that I have for myself is, all right, I'm not going to say anything. Like, just don't say anything, and you be all
Yeah.
right. You're
Yeah.
right.
Can I speak to that too, and the
Yes.
power of words? When
Yes.
we look at our ancestral line, uh, we didn't start from slavery, but we're still impacted by that moment, by that history.
Right.
And so our people were brought here, and they were tortured, and they were raped, and they had all these horrible things, and they were sold, and they were split up. Then they didn't know the language, and they couldn't speak, and then they weren't allowed to learn, and to read, and to write, and to do all of those things.
Right.
Let's fast forward. Then we have people who we're not allowed to speak our minds. We're not allowed to exist in certain communities and environments
Right.
because we're Black. We're not allowed to be. And then we're depicted in movies and in television, and in books as less than,
Right.
and made fun of, and
Right.
blackface, and minstrel shows, and all of these things.
Right.
And so the true representation of who we are, it's not even depicted. And so then if you add on to that, and I promise this is going to make sense, let's say we grow up in families, and so we're you're to be seen and not heard.
Right.
And what goes on in this house stays in this house. And so
Right.
then we're a family of secrets.
Hmm.
And you compound all of that, in addition to any other traumas that you experienced. And it's just this accumulation of trauma, and it all matters. Every single bit of it matters.
Hmm.
So the generational, and then the personal,
Hmm.
and then we walk around, and it's like, well, I'm just not going to speak, because we're used to not being heard. We're used to
Right.
our voices not mattering to people.
Right.
We're not used to people asking our opinions, and our points of view being taken, into any context, or in any place of importance. And so we don't state our opinions in conversations and in relationships when we're concerned or we're hurt.
Hmm.
We have all of these deep feelings that we just bury down.
Right.
And it causes depression, and it causes social anxiety, and it causes other anxiety, and then maybe we're suffering from PTSD and all of these things, and we're just existing.
Right. You know, what just came up for me when you were sharing that, um, was, I'm paraphrasing it. Out of the abundance of your heart, right?
The
You
mouth
speak,
speaks.
right? The
Yes.
mouth speaks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and what I heard was many of us have a broken heart.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're not speaking,
Mm-hmm.
because speaking from a broken heart, there's so much pain, and that the pain of that
Mm-hmm.
is not abundance. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
feel good,
Mm-hmm.
but we have to. It's like we have to speak, and we don't want to speak, and it's
Mm-hmm.
so. I think your work
Mm-hmm.
is healing the broken heart.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. A lot of my work is sitting with people who have never had anyone in their whole life sit with them and just hold safe, compassionate space for them.
Right.
Can I just sit with you in your pain? I'm not judging you. I'm not trying to change you. I'm not trying to control you. I'm certainly not ignoring you.
Mm.
Can I just sit with you in your pain? Have you ever had that? And most of my clients have not
Right.
had a safe place for their broken heart,
Right.
which, going back to the original word, it impacts how they show up
Mm.
and them living in their own abundance, whatever that is. They've just not ever had anybody that was safe for them. And even if they're married, even if they have best friends, it's like, yeah, I trust these people, but I can't tell them this thing.
Right.
Because if I tell them that, what if they leave me? What if they
Mm.
give up on me? What if they judge me? What
Right.
if they won't understand this thing that I did that I'm really apologetic for, or this thing that I went through? I don't want to impact them if I share about my broken heart.
Right.
I don't want them to worry about me.
Right.
And so many things. So I love that
Mm.
point of view, and just you even mentioning about the broken heart. That's at the essence of why we suffer, in my opinion.
Right. And it's there's an acknowledgement for me that um, that there are areas of my heart that is broken.
Yeah,
Right. And
yeah,
it's like, even with a smile on my face, right? You know, there
yeah,
are areas that that I'm willing to, you know, sit with and be with, and
hmm,
not just understand, but I think it's just acknowledge, and I think for me, abundance gets tied up with money for me
hmm, hmm,
as a way to, it's kind of separated from my heart.
hmm.
Does that make sense?
It
If
does.
if I really put abundance to my relationships, right?
Hmm,
To to my work, um, and with my worthiness as an expression of my worthiness, then
hmm,
it can be hurt again.
hmm,
So I can talk about having money and not having money, and talking about abundance, and that's difficult.
hmm.
But if abundance really shows up, and I really allow it to marry with, do I have an abundance in my relationships? What does abundance look like in my marriage with my kids? Um, that's a totally different way,
Yeah,
and more vulnerable way, um, to really, I guess, frame it, or it just feels that way for me.
yeah. That resonates. One of the things that I was talking to a friend about, because this word abundance has been in my spirit, is growing up in church. We and there is some biblical context there, that and so we there was a scripture, that money is the root of all evil.
Mm.
And as a kid hearing that scripture and hearing it so many times throughout my life,
Right.
there was a fear in me of making a lot of money.
Right.
Because I didn't want it to be my ruler, I didn't want it to be the thing that separated me from God.
Right.
But in church, they do talk a lot about money though, because they want you to give money. There's always something to give to, and you need money to do that. But they didn't teach us how to make money.
Right. Wow. Right.
and how to invest money.
Right.
Right. And so it's like, okay, I got money in my pocket. Oh, well, we need you to give this amount for this thing or that thing.
Wow.
So I can give it all away, but can you teach me how to earn it and how to invest it and really do something with it that's going to make my life really awesome?
Right.
We don't learn that in our families. We don't learn how to be the protector of our time.
Right.
We don't often learn how to communicate our words, and we don't learn about money. Those three things are important. They're vital.
Right.
And so then as an adult now, and I remember saying, words are so powerful. And I remember saying, I don't ever want to be rich. I don't ever want to make a lot of money. Because still that fear from childhood, from being 7 years old and hearing the pastor and so many times over talk about money. And so now as a business owner, me saying, I don't care about money makes me show up small, makes me undervalue myself, makes me not want to ask for what I am worth, makes me suffer professionally in my business, so economically. I'm like, I should be making this. Why am I not making this amount of money? Well, it goes back to that early fear of money, and nobody ever taught me what to do and how to believe that I can live an abundant life and a God breathed life. And I can have money. I can be abundant with my money.
Absolutely.
That's not having money isn't an automatic admission into hell, which is what I thought before. So I feel like I'm going off on a tangent. So
no, I get it. Oh, I definitely hear it. Here's a self-talk that I've had a couple of times. It's like, I am too damn smart to be this broke, right? It's like, what is
yes.
It's like, so it's like there is something going on with me. I need to unplug or plug into something because this is crazy, right?
Yes.
And it's that to unplug from the matrix. It's when you were saying about the church that it's like always encourage us to give. And look, this is a generalization. So if any people that so that, but if I am only in the posture of giving and don't really understand how to receive or to get or to bring or to allow abundance to go both ways, all you're doing is creating and this lack mentality that I don't have it, you have it. It ain't mine. It's almost like this, the sharecroppers mentality that we don't own anything. It's like, they own it. The church owns it. Somebody else owns it. There is nothing. It is all, we own it all.
Yes.
but we are conditioned to believe that we own nothing.
Yes. Yes.
And what you got, you got to give it to me, right?
Yes. Yes. It's like everything belongs to God, and God is somewhere up here, this imaginary being. And so my experience was, yes, everything that you own belongs to God.
Right.
So then you have to give it back to God if you want to be blessed. Okay. So we give. We give to everybody. And for me, being a child who experienced really great trauma, I mean, just so much trauma, physically, sexually, all the things, trauma. I was also being raised to believe that my body didn't belong to me.
Wow.
My decisions didn't belong to me. I didn't have agency over any part of my life. And
Hmm.
so, how that showed up and resonated in my relationships is that I will give you everything. I will
Hmm.
give it away. I'm more comfortable. I'm a giver, not a receiver. So, I'm going to give all the things away, but no one had ever taught me that I am worthy of receiving love. I am worthy of receiving respect. I am
Hmm.
worthy of receiving those compliments and sweet words and people doing nice things for me. I didn't even know how to act if somebody did a favor for me. I don't even know how to accept that. I'm not used to
Right.
that. I
Hmm.
know how to give all the things.
Right.
So then that affected I had really toxic relationships. I was the fixer, the rescuer for everybody.
Hmm.
So shout out to therapy. Therapy helped me to get to that place.
Shout out to therapy. Got it.
Yeah. No, no, no. I can make money. My money belongs to me. Thank you,
Right.
God, for all my
Right.
blessings, all my many blessings.
Right.
But while I'm here on this earth, you know,
Right.
I can make it do what it do, so to speak.
Right. Got it.
So um I don't have to give everything away. And
Right.
oftentimes for me, that was a way that I was asking people to love me.
Right. Wow.
If
Hmm.
so, yeah.
Hmm. Oh, yeah. I felt that
Mhm,
one. Right.
mhm, mhm,
It really there's a feeling that the if I could only do enough, give
mhm,
enough, then that
mhm.
will tip things, right?
Yes. Yes.
Um, and it felt like that tip never came, right? It was like it was all it was. So it's like, all right, we got to rethink this, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
We
Yes.
need to have a meeting, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I keep giving and giving at work. I'm giving my 110%. I'm
Right,
doing my very best at work. I'm doing my very best at church. I'm giving my time, working myself to the bone, waking up early, going to bed late,
right,
doing. Any
right,
and everybody can call me. I am their person
right,
and I'm going to help. But then at some point, some of us grow resentful of that.
right. Mm,
Like, when am I going to be loved? When am I going to be seen? When am I going to get the promotion?
right,
When is somebody going to do as much for me as I do for them?
right.
And so that's kind of like the beginning, acknowledging those feelings. That's kind of the beginning of awareness that something has to shift, something has to change. And it's not in them, it's in
Right,
us. It's
right.
personal.
And then, I've been that place of, you become aware of that.
Yeah.
And then I would feel bad that I'm aware. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
wait a minute, right? I guess I shouldn't. I'm a nice person. I shouldn't feel this way about the takers in my life, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
but I've created these takers, right? I've
Mhm.
conditioned these takers to just be that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this has been great. There's been a level of liberation within this conversation because
Mhm.
abundance is everywhere,
Mhm.
and it's everywhere we are.
Mhm.
Um, and but that's as I say that we need to show up, not our representatives,
Mhm.
not our ideas of ourselves,
Mhm.
but if we show up fully, abundance is there, and it
Yeah.
comes. It's a flowing back and
Mhm.
forth.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm getting from this conversation. I think we can talk about this for hours.
Mhm.
There's,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
What is coming up for you that you want to leave everyone with?
I would love to just for anybody that's listening to know that as it relates to abundance, it's for you. It does
Hmm.
not matter your background. It does not matter the family you grew up in, whatever you experienced, whatever mistakes you made. It does not matter. Abundance is for you.
Hmm.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. It's like listen to that again, right? let that
Yes.
let that sink in. That's
Yeah.
it, right?
That's it.
Abundance is for you.
Mhm.
Got it. Thank you very much. Um,
Yeah.
it's kind of you scared me at the beginning when I gave you the word. I was like, uh-oh. It's like she's still processing the word. She's not going to say anything about it. So
Mhm.
how was it to be the first woman to do uh, the guess online, the word online, and what was that initial feeling? Like, I guess you don't have a poker face because I saw it in your, I saw it's like, oh, yes, right? It's like,
It was like my ancestors saying, "Girl, you got this. Do
oh
it."
boy. Hmm,
It again, it just I just believe that if I allow myself to lean into new experiences and opportunities,
hmm,
that God will meet me at that point and give me what I need. And so seeing that abundance had already been in my spirit for the last 30 days, I'm
hmm.
talking about it, I'm writing about it, and it shows up on screen. I'm like, what is that? So I was kind of speechless. What's happening? That
Right,
word is what I get to talk about today. So
right,
I feel really honored that
right.
you would have me on your show, and I've loved this whole conversation. It's such a beautiful conversation. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Um, so I'd love to say our goodbyes in the green room, but this has definitely been great. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, abundance. I'm just really sitting with that. Abundance is for you. That's it. There's so many times that I try to make it a lot more complicated. I'm one of those kids. I'll raise my hand to that. If there's something to be made more complicated, that would be me, because I believe on a level that it can't be that easy, right? And it can't be that easy, but sometimes it is. And if we can embrace that abundance is for us, and that's it. However it shows up, how it shows up in our money, how it shows up in our relationships, how it shows up in our ideas and our thoughts, abundance is there because we are abundance. Live that life. I dare you. I dare me to live a life of abundance. I hope this conversation has brought value to you, not just to your day, but to your life. I invite you to reach out to me at imwilliambrown.com for a complimentary coaching session so I can help you be yourself and live your life. Because the world wants you, the world needs you, but the world isn't waiting for you. So go be you. Have a great rest of the day.